What's up, you guys? It's Manny the Giant and back in the building. And today we're talking about Jake Paul. Now, in my opinion, Jake Paul is pretty good. He's okay. I didn't like him back in 2017, 2018 when he's so anted, and he just carried himself as an unlikable person. But throughout the years, I actually respected Jake Paul. I mean, I think compared to KSI and Jake Paul, I think KSI is gonna win, but that's a whole nother video. Now, today's topic, we're gonna talk about how Jake Paul saved and he kind of ruining boxing. Now, Jake Paul made his professional debut, not his professional debut, but just boxing debut against Deji back in 2018, and ever since that time skips 6 years, six years later, he's basically now, I want to say eight in. Okay, he has a good record. He has a good record overall, and that actually saved boxing is because a YouTuber is having a winning record in boxing, in boxing, and fighting real fighters. And if you were to say that back in 2015, 2014, they would think you were insane. But I could argue that Jake Paul actually saved boxing is because people was kind of held down their contracts. You know, promoters were ruining the fight, and they literally postponed fights for years to come because people wanted to see a whole lot of fights, but the promoters kind of postponed that fight and make it impossible to see unless because either A, they have a whole lot of money, or B, if the fighter themselves really don't want to fight them and they're ducking them. And now in 2023, Jake Paul is one of the biggest names in boxing, not an influencer boxer, and boxing in general. Now I could say that Jake Paul is actually one of the best boxers that we have now. Is he better than most boxers on under 10? Yes. He could beat most professional boxers, but is he beating people like Floyd Mayweather, Canelo, Terrence Crawford, Gervonta? Okay, we're not saying Gervonta Davis. Is he beating people like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, all of them people? No, absolutely not. He'll get destroyed. But he actually put more eyes inside the sport because his vicious knockouts against Gib. It's technically not a knockout. He didn't put him Gib to sleep, but it was a technical knockout against Nate Robinson, against Ben Askren, against Tyron Woodley. He didn't knock out Anderson Silva, but he did knock him down, and he lost to Tommy Fury, and Nate Diaz. He didn't knock him out, but he still won against them. And one of the main points about Jake Paul saving boxing is because Jake Paul has this whole gimmick is that a YouTuber is fighting these fighters and winning. And also he likes to make it where he likes to troll people and make it seem like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing in boxing and all that stuff. And that's totally fine. Jake Paul is one of the he's a great boxer, but yeah. Now the problem is that Jake Paul is actually ruining boxing is that check this out. It's like people are handpicking Jake Paul fights in under three of these things. Either is one, they gotta be shorter than Jake Paul. B, they gotta have fighting experience, but really not good as a boxer. And three, they have to be a UFC star. They have to be a UFC star. Never an actual boxer except Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is literally the first and only boxer. Well, except for his upcoming fight. But for right now, Tommy Fury was the only boxer that Jake Paul has ever fought, and he won. And he lost miserably. I even argue that KSI did a better job against Tommy Fury than Jake ever did. yeah, Jake had that knockdown, but after seeing it a bunch of time, yeah, it was a knockdown, but it at first glance it looked like a slip. And here's the thing, and okay, having that's a whole nother video, but for right now, the reason why I say Jake Paul is actually ruining boxing is because he's literally fighting people who are literally around their 40s and above, and above, winning their fight, and people is like, oh, he's the greatest boxer ever. He's the greatest. He just knocked out Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley was literally a wrestler. He had the power to knock Jake Paul out, but he just hesitated and he didn't do it. Around the okay, remember when Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul had their first bout, and around the fourth round, Jake Paul literally almost lost because Tyron Woodley, he rushed in and he sent Jake to the rope. And Tyron Woodley literally had an opportunity to finish him off, but this is the one of the reasons why Tyron Woodley had his 6-fight losing streak, because he hesitated, and he literally was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna let you have your space. I'm just gonna let you recover." No, you're not supposed to do that. And this is why Tyron Woodley was never really a good boxer, is because he was a great UFC fighter, one of the best welterweights, but he was not really a good fighter. But back to Jake Paul. The reason why I say he ruined the sport because another example, Anderson Silva. Now I know Anderson Silva is 48 now, but when he fought Jake Paul, he was 47. And 47 in fighting years is like 81. It's like, like dog years. It's not literally dog year, but fighting years. If you're 47, you're like 81 or 85. And Jake Paul is going the distance with these fighters. Now, I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Anderson Silva was a great boxer, even his age. But at the same time, the dude was 47 at the time. 47. And Jake Paul, around the time, was 26. You get my point? You get my point. Now, I get it that there's plenty of boxers who fought people around they were 40. Rolly Romero fought that 40-year-old and he won. And let's be honest here, that ref kind of saved him. But we're not talking about that. And people actually think Jake Paul is actually, he's one of the best boxers. Yeah, he's one of the best influencer boxers. But when it comes down to boxing, not really. He counts as he can beat most pro boxers, but he's not being Terrence Crawford. He's not being Errol Spence Jr. He's not being Ryan Garcia. He's not being any of those people. But all I'm saying is that Jake Paul saved the sport of boxing, but at the same time, he kind of ruined it. That's all I gotta say. This is Manny the Giant, and I'm signing out, and I'll see you in the next video.